Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine.
Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhudale Srimad Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine.
Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Akshantya Deshatarine.
Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine.
Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Advaita Gadadha Srivastadi Gaur Bhaktavrinda.
Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu
Nityananda Shri Advaita Shri Bhaktivinoda
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna
Hare Krishna
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 Krishna Krishna Hare Hare
Hare
Hare
Rama Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna Hare Krishna
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 Hare
Hare Hare Hare
Hare
Rama Hare Rama Rama
Rama
Rama
Rama Hare Hare.
Jai Prabhupada, Jai Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jai Prabhupada,
Jaya
Jaya Prabhupada
Prabhupada,
Jaya Prabhupada
Prabhupada,
Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada.
नाम संकीर्तन की जय, श्री प्रभुपाद की जय। ओम ज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूप कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम्। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरुपदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं रघुनाथान्वितं तं सुजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपादान् सहगना ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च Namo Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshnaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Bhashyati Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namane Gauravashe Namaha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priya Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shrivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Okay, so yesterday we were discussing about foods in the three modes. So before that, of course, we discussed about worship in the three modes and so somebody's mic seems to be on, needs to be muted, I think. Okay. So the characteristics of food in the mode of goodness are Ayu, Sattva, Bala, Arogya, Sukha, Priti, Vivardhana. So all these things increase by foods in the mode of goodness. So basically, they are more healthy. And because they are more healthy, then all these things increase. So one feels because more healthy, less disease, so therefore freedom from disease, there's physical strength, happiness, satisfaction. So all this is there when one eats foods in the mode of goodness. Or those in the mode of goodness like these type of foods. That's the influence of the mode of goodness. So by the influence of the mode of goodness, then they're automatically attracted towards such type of foods. And then those who are in the mode of passion, then they are attracted to these type of foods as mentioned in the next verse. So as it said, so the word tu, ati is to be used for all of them. Ati katu, ati amla, ati lavana, ati ushna, ati tikshna, ati ruksha. So anything extreme is bad. Ati, too much. So some basic amount of bitterness, sourness, salty. So moderate degrees is fine, but the problem is when it becomes ati, too much. So when it is too much, then it has all the bad effects. So those in the mode of passion, So they are automatically attracted to these type of foods. And what is the result? Dukkha, shoka, amaya. So as I said over here, so dukkha is while eating. So while eating itself, there is dukkha because there's pain to the tongue, throat, everything is burning. There's perspiration, there are tears coming out of the eyes and nose, and so even while eating, there is so much of dukkha. And then after eating, there is shoka, lamentation. And so sometimes we also have experience. And so we eat something, afterwards we lament, oh, why did I eat that? So then there is shoka. And then what is the result after some time? After a few hours or a day, then the final result comes, and that is amayam, disease. So these are the results of foods in the mode of passion. And then those in the mode of ignorance, yata yamam gatarasam. So yata yamam means food cooked 3 hours before being eaten. But of course, Prabhupada clarifies that if it's prasadam, and especially if it's not decomposed, then it's fine. Gatarasam means tasteless, puti, bad smelling, parushitam, decomposed. And as being explained, even uchishtam, the leftovers only of the guru or such elevated persons, only their leftovers uchishtam should be taken, not anybody else's. So these are foods which, and then of course all the abominable foods, meat and all those things, all those are in the mode of ignorance. So by the influence of the modes, automatically people are attracted to these different types of foods. So you see that somebody is relishing. He is relishing the meat and relishing, as Prabhupada had experienced, somebody eating hog's intestines. And Prabhupada also tells about his Guru Maharaj. So when his Guru Maharaj was preaching in Rangoon, Burma, so at that time in the apartment where they were staying, so they were making puris made of ghee. And the neighbors were complaining, oh, such a bad smell, such a bad smell. And what were they having? So outside the house, they used to keep a pot. And in that pot, they would put all dead animals. And when the dead animals would decompose, and then there would be some liquids coming out. So in that liquid, they would drink as a very delicious nectar drink. That was what they would drink. It is called some coffee or something, something like that. So you see, so they are relishing that, and they cannot tolerate puris made in ghee. So why the difference? The difference is simply because of the influence of the modes. And then we discussed before, why the particular influence of those modes? Then that's what they desired in the past, sometime in the past, that's what they desired. And because they desired that, then they have been given a body which is so designed and which is so influenced by the modes that automatically the person likes that type of foods. So that's how the modes influence. And we also may have personal experience. Maybe we were also eating some foods before, but now when one comes to Krishna consciousness and then one tastes prasadam and then one makes some progress in sattvagun, then automatically those foods seem abominable. Then there's no more taste for those type of foods. Now, towards the end of this commentary, and also Srila Prabhupada, towards the end of his commentary also, it's mentioned that the best food is the remnants of what is offered to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So that's basically prasadam. And then he's quoting the verse, Patram Pushpam Phalam Toyam. And of course, devotion and love are the chief things which the Supreme Personality of Godhead accepts. And of course, when we were doing the middle 6 chapters, then we had a detailed discussion on the Patram Pushpam Phalam Toyam verse. Yo me bhaktya prayachati tadaham bhakti uparitam ashnami prayatatmana. If you remember, we had a whole discussion on that prayatatmana. And prayatatmana basically means one in purified consciousness. So then when one in purified consciousness cooks and offers, then Krishna is very pleased with that. Then he accepts. And then Prabhupada writes, but it is also mentioned that the prasadam should be prepared in a particular way. Any food prepared by the injunctions of the scripture and offered to the Supreme Personality of Godhead can be taken even if prepared long, because such food is transcendental. So Prabhupada is mentioning that yes, what needs to be offered to the Lord needs to be prepared in a particular way, which is authorized by the scriptures, which is authorized by the Guru and sadhus. So then what should be offered to the Lord should be prepared in that particular way, not in any whimsical way. So there's a particular way Prabhupada is writing that, according to the injunctions of the scriptures. And then that should be offered with love and devotion. That means, basically, when we talk of love and devotion, then it basically means that one prepares the food in a way that the other person likes, not the way I like. So therefore, then one has to find out what Krishna likes and then prepare foods according to that. That's the basic meaning of love. You love a person, then you give what the other person likes. And Prabhupada says, even in ordinary gentlemanly manners, you would ask, if you're offering something to another person, you would ask the person, what would you like to have? So that's common mannerisms. And so we are offering something to the Supreme Lord. So then obviously, and that too with love, then obviously we have to find out what the Supreme Lord loves and then offer accordingly. And so therefore, the Vaishnavas are not interested in just sattvic foods. Of course, sattvic foods are the foods that the Lord loves. But then ultimately the Vaishnavas, they accept only prasadam. Therefore, here Vishnu Chakra, the Vaishnavas are reject any foods not offered to the Lord, even if it is sattvic foods. So we have to note this point, that as far as Vaishnavas are concerned, they accept only prasadam. So the more we are particular about it, the more it's good for us, the more we make progress. So sometimes we do find that even initiated devotees are not so particular about offering the foods. And sometimes there are tendencies to just buy things from the markets. And okay, they're vegetarian, why to offer? First of all, of course, things cooked by outside people should not be offered in the first place, like potato chips and all those things which are sold. Ideally, anything that needs to be offered should be cooked by the devotees and offered to the Lord and then accepted. So only Krishna Prasadam, Prabhupada emphasized that many times, both in purports and lectures, that devotees accept only Krishna Prasadam. And I think so we already had a discussion on nothing even offered to demigods, because demigods also don't accept. So these are all important points as far as foods in the modes is concerned. Okay. Okay, one point, yes. So now there may be a notion that okay, if something is offered and it is prasadam, then I can accept. So anyway, so I was reading a conversation between Bob Cohen, if you have read the book Perfect Questions, Perfect Answers. So in a conversation between Bob Cohen and Srila Prabhupada, so the subject matter of prasadam came, and so he's asking whether devotees accept any type of prasadam, even if it may be a bit spicy and things like that. So Prabhupada is explaining, first of all, Prabhupada explains that the Lord accepts anything which the devotee offers with love, and the devotee also accepts the prasadam from the Lord. And Prabhupada gives quite an extreme example. And he says that just like Hiranyakashipu, he offered poison to Prahlad. Prahlad is a devotee, he doesn't accept anything without offering to the Lord. So Prahlad offered the poison to the Lord. And the Lord gave it back as prasadam in the form of nectar. And so what Prahlad got was nectar, and so nothing happened to him. So in this way, Prabhupada is saying, yes, the devotees accept prasadam. So then Bob says that, okay, but if the prasadam is too spicy and it's not good for my digestion, then should I accept? And Prabhupada clarifies. He says that's for the perfect devotees. The perfect devotees, they can accept anything. Okay, the perfect devotees, they can accept anything. And from such devotees, the Lord will accept anything, because there's love. So we read about Sanatana Goswami. Earlier he didn't have anything to offer to Madan Mohan, and he was just offering some bhati, some wheat flour mixed with water, initially no salt also. So, but then Madan Mohan was happy because of the love, and he was offering what he could. So for such elevated devotees, then everything is fine. But then Srila Prabhupada says, if we are not on that platform, if we are not perfect devotees, then we have to know what is my condition, what is my situation. And then we have to accept what we can digest. And not because it's prasadam, then yes, we eat anything and everything. No. So because I'm not perfect, my body is not perfect, I have limitations, then one has to discriminate. Okay. Those are perfect devotees, yes. Then even if they don't discriminate, Krishna will take care. But as far as we are concerned, if we are not on the perfect platform, then yes, we need to discriminate. And of course, there also Srila Prabhupada clarifies, of course, first of all, the prasadam, the bhoga, should also be prepared in the proper way and offered. That's the first thing. Okay, so then one has to see what Krishna likes and make those items and offer. And then when we accept, then of course, Krishna can eat so many different varieties of foodstuffs. But as far as my body is concerned, I may have some limitations. And so yes, then I should take into consideration those limitations and what I can eat and what I cannot eat. Not that, okay, it's prasadam, so you should take everything, whatever is offered. No. Then we have to discriminate. So Prabhupada clarifies these points. Okay, fine. So I think so that's enough discussion on prasadam and foods in the three modes. Now we go to the next section, 11 to 22. Sacrifices, austerities, and charity in the mode. So 11th
Prabhuji,
verse.
yesterday's question and today also we have two questions. Do you want to take them, Prabhuji, now?
What do you say? Should we just finish the chapter and then take?
Okay, Prabhuji.
All right. Anyway, the chapter is not long and many things are sort of similar. So I think it's a little best if we just finish the chapter. All right.
Okay, Prabhu.
Okay. So 11th verse. Afalakankshibiryajño vididishto ya ijjate yashtavyam eveti manaha samadhaya sasatvikaha. Of sacrifices, the sacrifice performed according to the directions of scripture as a matter of duty by those who desire no reward is of the nature of goodness. So here he's talking about sacrifices in three modes. And so this is sacrifice in the mode of goodness. And the first word is afalakankshi. You will find this characteristics, whether it is sacrifice in three modes, charity, austerity, the characteristics are almost similar for all of them. So goodness means this is always the characteristic. Afalakangshibi. So the one in goodness, he doesn't perform the sacrifice or the activity to get something in return, but he does it as a matter of duty. Does it as a matter of duty, not because I want something in return. That's the common characteristic of goodness. He works on the duty platform. So whether the results are going to be pleasing, not pleasing, whatever, but anyways, he performs his duty. And so therefore, since he does it out of duty, vidhi dishta, vidhi, so according to the directions of the scriptures. So he follows that. So you can see in the translation, yes, in the word it must be performed, and the translation Prabhupada says as a matter of duty. And mana samadhaya. So with a satisfied mind, fixing the mind on the goal. So therefore he's forming the scriptures. So these are the characteristics of one in the mode of goodness. Okay, please read the purport.
Okay, Anand Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Of sacrifice, the general tendency is to offer sacrifice with some purpose in mind. But here it is stated that sacrifice should be performed without any such desire. It should be done as a matter of duty. Take, for example, the performance of rituals in temples or in churches. Generally, they are performed with the purpose of material benefit, but that is not in the mode of goodness. One should go to a temple or church as a matter of duty, offer respect to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and offer flowers and eatables without any purpose of obtaining material benefit. Everyone thinks that there is no use in going to the temple just to worship God. But worship for economic benefit is not recommended in scriptural injunctions. One should go simply to offer respect to the deity. That will place one in the mode of goodness. It is the duty of every civilized man to obey the injunctions of the scriptures and offer respect to the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
Okay, so I think so that's pretty clear. So yes, as Prabhupada says, just as a matter of showing respects to the Lord, therefore we need to go, therefore we need to worship. So that's mode of goodness. 12. Avisandhayatu phalam dambhartam api chaiva yat ijjate bharata shrestha tam yajñam vidirajasam. The sacrifice performed for some material benefit or for the sake of pride or chief of Bharata should know to be in the mode of passion. So again, these characteristics are same for whatever is in passion. Passion means what's in it for me? That's the first question. What am I going to get in return? Okay, so that's passion. Abhisandaya, phalam. So desiring the fruits. What am I going to get? Am I going to be happy? Am I going to be sad? Am I going to get some profit? Is it going to be loss? So one is always calculating profit, loss, this, that. So one is always interested in the phalam. And so then the duty is forgotten. Then the duty part is forgotten. Then even if it is duty, but I don't do the duty because I'm not going to get something or I'm not going to be happy. Of course, Prabhupada gives the example of Arjuna also. He didn't want to fight initially because he thought it's not going to make him happy. And he gives all those reasons. So that's passion. So just like coming to within the realm of devotional service, somebody is given the service of book distribution. Okay, he goes out for book distribution one day. So one day, maybe very few books go. Next day, no books go. So he says, oh, this is useless service. I'm not getting anything. Useless service. So he says, forget it. I'm not going to do this. So there is no steadiness then. There is no steadiness. Because always fruits. What are going to be the fruits? What's going to be the big score? Am I going to get the name and fame? So always looking for the fruits. But then that's not, that's passion. That's passion. So as we read in the previous purports, Prabhupada wrote that in the modern world, most people, the standard of civilization, Prabhupada wrote, the standard of civilization is the mode of passion. And so it's very deep rooted. It's very deep rooted. And so even within devotional service, then. Okay, 13th verse. Vidhihinam arishtanam mantrahinam adakshinam Shraddha virahitam yagyam tamasam parichakshate. Any sacrifice performed without regard for the direction of the scripture, without distribution of prasadam, without chanting of Vedic hymns and remunerations to the priests, and without faith is considered to be in the mode of ignorance. Okay, so here it is vidhihinam. So you see it's just the opposite of goodness. In goodness we saw vidhidishtaha. And here it is vidhihinam. So no following of the scriptures. Asrishta annam. There is no distribution of prasadam. So therefore, Srila Prabhupada, he emphasized the point that any program should end with prasadam. That's goodness. So not having that is ignorance. Mantrahinam. So there's no chanting of appropriate mantras. Dakshinam. So no remuneration to the priests. So that's also an important aspect. So if somebody is coming to do some sacrifice, any sacrifice, whatever it may be. So everything is a sacrifice, whether it is recitation of the Bhagavatam, whether it's a preaching program, or actually some sacrifice, a fire sacrifice, some other program, whatever it is. So whoever are the priests or whoever is coming to conduct that program, they should be offered some remuneration. That is the Vedic system. And Shraddha Virahitam. There is no Shraddha in the scriptures. And so then it is all tamasa, mode of ignorance. Okay, so these are sacrifices and ignorance. As Prabhupada writes in the purport, sometimes people worship some demigod just to make money and spend the money for recreation, ignoring the scripture injunctions. So that's what is going on these days. These days it's mostly all tamogun, whether it is Kali worship or Ganesh worship or any such sort of worship. There's practically no chanting of mantras, no No, and forget about scriptural injunctions. So basically, this is what happens. People collect money in the name of Ganpati Puja or whatever, and then what do? They spend it for recreation. Uh, Bollywood songs, movies, dances. Uh, so all this goes on. So where is scripture? There's no scripture at all. So all that is tamasic. So such ceremonial shows of religiosity are not accepted as genuine. They're all in the mode of darkness. They produce a demoniac mentality and do not benefit human society. Okay. Now coming to tapasya, austerities. Now, first of all, he speaks about these three types of austerities: austerities of the body, austerity of the mind, and austerity of speech. And then he talks about austerity in three modes. So, first of all, austerity of the body. Deva Dvija Guru Pragya Pujanam Shauchamarjavam Brahmacharyam Ahimsa Cha Shariram Tapa Uchyate. Austerity of the body consists in worship of the Supreme Lord, the Brahmanas, the spiritual master, and superiors like father and mother, and in cleanliness, simplicity, celibacy, and non-violence. Please read the purport.
Yes, Siddharth Subudhi.
The Supreme Godhead here explains the different kinds of austerity and finance. First, he explains the austerities and finances practiced by the body. One should offer or learn to offer respect to God or to the demigods, the perfect qualified Brahmanas, and the spiritual master and superiors like father, mother, or any person who is conversant with Vedic knowledge. These should be given proper respect. One should practice cleansing oneself externally and internally, and he should learn to become simple in behavior. He should not do anything which is not sanctioned by the scriptural injunctions. He should not indulge in sex outside of married life, for sex is sanctioned in the scriptures only in marriage, not otherwise. This is called celibacy. These are finances and austerities as far as the body is concerned.
Okay, so the first thing is Deva Dvija Guru Pragnya Pujanam. So Deva means the Devatas, of course, proper translates Deva as Supreme Lord in the word to words. Yes, in the translation also Prabhupada says worship of the Supreme Lord. Of course, in the purport he writes God or to the demigods. So anyways, so of course, whether it's Supreme Lord or demigods, everyone needs to be respected. So then the Dvija, that means the Brahmanas, the Guru, Pragya. Pragya means worshipable personalities. Prabhupada in the translation says like father and mother. So all of them should be respected. So of course, so much can be spoken on the culture of respect, but then it's an important aspect of gaining knowledge. So when we show respect, then as Prabhupada explains, then one receives blessings. And then by receiving blessings, then one can actually understand Vedic knowledge. And so therefore, offering respect to respectable personalities is important. That was also one of the arguments which Arjuna gave, that how can I kill respectable personalities, my superiors, like Bhishma and Drona? I'm supposed... Prabhu, just hold on. This is an important call. Yes, precisely. I'm in Bahadurgarh, which is close to Delhi, Hospital. Exit road? Yes, bro, yes, bro. Your voice is breaking, bro. It's not very clear. Better, bro. Yes. Bhakti Babu Maharaj had prepared a slideshow. Yes, but it's very good. And now, oh, I see. Okay, okay. Yes, Guru. I'll see that. Okay, okay. Yes. 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 Yeah, of course, there are no pictures, mostly it's text. Right, right, right. Yes. Yes, sir, definitely. No problem. Now I'm teaching the last 6 chapters of the Gita. Yes, Priya. Some are there in the temple, some are online. Yes, 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 yes. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
You can hear, no?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay, sorry for the interruption. I had to take that. Okay, so what we're discussing? Okay, we're discussing about respect. Yes. So we see that it's an important aspect of Vedic culture to show respect to respectable personalities, and that's how we get their blessings. And it's only by their blessings that one can actually understand scriptures and actually practice them. As Srila Prabhupada emphasized in many of his lectures, that when it comes to practicing Shastric knowledge, then it's not sufficient just to buy books from the market and read. Of course, Prabhupada gives the example that even to become doctor or engineer also it's not sufficient just to buy books from the market. One has to, he says, surrender to the teachers in the college. But in any case, but it definitely applies for spiritual knowledge. And so therefore, in order to actually realize the knowledge, as we had quite an elaborate discussion previously, that in order to have realized knowledge, then it requires grace and blessings. And so therefore, offering that respect and proper behavior then attracts the grace. And so that's an austerity of the body. Why it's an austerity? Because it's not natural. In the conditioned state, it's not natural to offer respects. The tendency is always to receive respect, to demand respect. But then it's an austerity to give respect to others. But then that's what Mahaprabhu has said. Mahaprabhu has said just the opposite. Amanina manadena. That means not expecting respect for oneself, but giving respect to others. That's an austerity in the conditioned states. And we all know the famous pastime of how Indra, he failed to offer respect to Brihaspati at one time. Brihaspati just entered his court as he entered usually, And then Indra was busy with his own sense gratification. And he didn't offer any respect. And Brihaspati just walked out. He didn't say anything. He didn't curse. He didn't do anything. But he just walked out. And on the spot, Indra lost all his powers. And then later on, he offended Durvas Muni, who offered him a Mahagarland. He gave it to the elephant. And then, of course, Durvas Muni actually cursed him. And then he lost everything. So that's how offering respect is an important aspect of Vedic culture and an important aspect of progressing in a devotional service. And it's an austerity, especially in the present day and age, where right from childhood, people are trained to be sort of self-independent and not depending on others and to be very arrogant. And so the whole culture in the modern day is quite opposite to the Vedic culture. And in the Ishopanishad purport, of course, Srila Prabhupada writes that because the younger generation is not being taught to show respect to the elders, they're simply becoming a headache to the elders. And so therefore, that culture has to be taught right from childhood. And of course, at least therefore, Srila Prabhupada says that after coming to devotional service, therefore then one is trained to see the other person as Prabhu, as master. So that's the purpose. So then we try to develop some respect. And then of course, Srila Prabhupada taught disciples how to show respect even to parents. Well-known pastime of Gargamuni Prabhu, how when his mother came to the temple, then Srila Prabhupada told him to offer respects to the mother. And then when Gargamuni Prabhu went home, and then the mother opened the door, she didn't find anyone. And then she was looking who's there, and she saw a son on the floor. And she was surprised, what are you doing on the floor? He said, oh, this is what our spiritual master has taught us. So that's how Srila Prabhupada was respectful in personal dealings with everyone practically. So even though he was so heavy against Mayavadis and scientists and so many of these people, so Prabhupada was defeating the philosophy. He had no personal interest or any personal enviousness or any such attitude towards them. It was just the wrong mentality and the philosophy that he was defeating. And so when any of these personalities would come to meet him, then personally Prabhupada would be very respectful. Even there was one big Mayavadi sannyasi who came to meet him, and then Srila Prabhupada was very respectful in dealings. So therefore, it's very important to learn all this behavior and etiquettes from the dealings of the acharyas, especially for Srila Prabhupada. So that's an austerity. In one lecture, Prabhupada says, though we address the other person as Prabhu, but internally we are thinking that, no, I'm the Prabhu, he's the servant. So that's the conditioned nature to think that way. So therefore, then we have to change that as an austerity. And then other items we have discussed many times before: Shaucham, Arjavam, simplicity, Brahmacharya, Ahimsa. Okay, fine. So now 15th verse, coming to austerity of speech. Anudvega karam vakyam satyam priyahitam chayat swadhyaya besanam chaiva vanmayam tapa uchyate. Austerity of speech consists of speaking words that are truthful, pleasing, beneficial, and not agitating to others, and also in regularly reciting Vedic literature. Okay, please read the purport.
Parvatama Mataji.
Hare Krishna. Austerity of one should not speak in such a way as to agitate the minds of others. Of course, when a teacher speaks, he can speak the truth for the instruction of his students. But such a teacher should not speak to those who are not his students if he will agitate their minds. This is penance as far as talking is concerned. Besides that, one should not talk nonsense. The process of speaking in spiritual circles is to say something upheld by the scriptures. One should at once quote from scriptural authority to back up what he is saying. At the same time, such talk should be very pleasurable to the ear. By such discussions, one may derive the highest benefit and elevate human society. There is a limitless stock of Vedic literature, and one should study this. This is called penance of speech. Hare Krishna.
Yes, so very important again, austerity of the speech. Anudvega karam, not agitating. Anudvega karam vakyam. So the words should not be agitating to others, causing a lot of displeasure or agitation to others. So even though one may speak the truth, as Srila Prabhupada has explained the purport, of course, when a teacher speaks, he can speak the truth for the instruction of the student. But such a teacher should not speak to those who are not his students, but agitate their minds. So, as it is said, Satyam Briyat, Priyam Briyat. Truth needs to be spoken, but at the same time, it needs to be spoken in a pleasing way. Of course, Srila Prabhupada did say that as far as a preacher is concerned, he needs to present the truth as it is. Yes, that point is perfect, that there cannot be any compromise in the truth what is spoken. The truth has to be presented as it is. There cannot be compromise in that. So that's what Prabhupada is writing here. As far as a teacher is concerned, preacher is concerned, the truth has to be spoken. Not that, okay, because some people will not accept or some people will reject, so therefore I need to water down the truth or manipulate the truth. No, the truth needs to be presented as it is. And so therefore, within the austerity is also swadhyaya vyasanam. So that means, as Prabhupada is explaining, that the process of speaking in spiritual circles is to say something upheld by the scriptures. So sometimes, especially these days, we are finding that preachers, just to attract an audience or get more followers or whatever, or become famous on the YouTube and things like that, then we find these days many preachers are diluting the message and speaking so many things. But this was not the mode of our acharyas. We find Srila Prabhupada right from day one. You can hear 1966 lectures. Prabhupada was speaking the same philosophy as it is. There was absolutely no compromise, no dilution. Prabhupada did say that my Guru Maharaj never compromised, I don't compromise. And that was the mode of Srila Prabhupada and our acharyas, and what to speak of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. And so therefore, the truth needs to be spoken as it is, and everything that what one speaks should be upheld by the scriptures. As Prabhupada said, devotees should be like lawyers. Whatever they speak, there must be a reference from the scripture. And not that we are just speaking things for some sort of spiritual entertainment and all sorts of watered down stuff. So that's not the mode of our acharyas. The truth needs to be spoken. But at the same time, it could be spoken in a way that is not so agitating to the minds. Of course, if some people are going to get agitated anyways, we can't take care of everyone. Some people, even if it is spoken, the truth is spoken in the most mild way, some people are going to get agitated anyways. Because the envious nature is so strong, then whatever is spoken, then they'll be agitated. We don't care about those types of people. But from our side, we can try to present the truth in a way that is according to time, place, circumstances, and which is not very agitating. To give a few examples, within ISKCON's history, there is a well-known incident of in some countries, like even now, I suppose. So devotees, especially when temples were not there in the early days, so then they would have programs in some local demigod temples, some Shiva temple, Ganesh temple, whatever. And the temple authorities would be okay, because anyway it is some sort of Hindu culture, so they would allow the devotees to have the programs. But then, right in those demigod temples, then these people, the devotees, were speaking very harshly against demigods. So now we just read the demigods are supposed to be respected, though we don't worship them; they're supposed to be respected. And so, therefore, then especially when one is speaking in the demigod temple, then one has to be more sensitive to where it is being spoken and who are the audience and things like that. So one has to be sensitive. And so because then the preachers were not very sensitive because of not being properly trained, then they were driven out of those places and they lost the opportunity to preach and also got a bad name. So that's the point. So yes, it's not that we say, okay, demigod worship is okay, or demigod worship, Supreme Lord, everyone is on the same level. No, we don't compromise that philosophy. But then yes, then we do not use very harsh words. Demigod worshippers are dull-headed demons, things like that. So yes, we need to present the philosophy, but we need to use the right words, the right choice of words, so that the sentiments of people are not hurt. So that's the meaning of anudvegam, not agitating. So another well-known incident is there is the pastime in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, if you have read, about Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Vallabhacharya. And so Vallabhacharya, he just to cut the long story short, so he said he doesn't accept even Sridhar Swami, the original commentary on the Bhagavatam. And Mahaprabhu was a little upset, and there was some conversation. And so then that article was published in the BTG. And then Sumati Moraji, whom we know as the one who sponsored Prabhupada's ticket, now she belonged to the Vallabh Sampradaya. And so then when she read the BTG, she was a little upset, and then she wrote to Prabhupada. I suppose those letters are available. So she wrote to Prabhupada, and of course Prabhupada wrote a very nice letter in return, pacifying her and all that. But then Prabhupada told the devotees that you should not have published this in the BTG, because that's for public distribution. So amongst devotees, it is fine. So therefore, the point is one must know where to speak, when to speak, how to speak. So all these factors must be taken into consideration. So even though we don't compromise the truth, but one should know how to present the truth in a way, because ultimately the purpose of presenting the truth is so that people will accept. So if the people don't accept and they reject, then what's the purpose of a presentation? So therefore, one must take into consideration all these things. And especially as Prabhupada is writing, when one is speaking in spiritual circles, then it's very important that we present according to the scriptures, according to the acharyas in parampara, and not just speak for the sake of some spiritual entertainment. That's never the mode of our acharyas. Okay, so Prabhupada was very clear. We are not simply after some popular votes. That's not our style. So that's an austerity. That's an austerity, because the tendency is, okay, I want to be more popular and I'll speak in a way so that I become more popular. That is the conditioned nature. That's the influence of Rajagun. What will I get in return? Will I get more popularity? Will I get more fame? So that's the Rajagun that kicks in every time. That's the conditioned nature. But then the austerity is to rise above that and to act in ways which are pleasing to Guru and Krishna rather than pleasing to oneself. Okay, so now coming to austerity of the mind. Mana prasada saumyatvam maunam atma vinigraha bhava samshuddhirityeta tapo manasamuchyate. And satisfaction, simplicity, gravity, self-control, and purification of one's existence are the austerities of the mind. Purple.
Manoram Chaitanya Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Yes, Prabhuji.
And satisfaction, simplicity, gravity, self-control, and purification of one's existence are the austerities of the mind. Purport: to make the mind austere is to detach it from sense gratification. It should be so trained that it can be always thinking of doing good for others. The best training for the mind is gravity in thought. One should not deviate from Krishna consciousness and must always avoid sense gratification. To purify one's nature is to become Krishna conscious. Satisfaction of the mind can be obtained only by taking the mind away from the thoughts of sense enjoyment. The more we think of sense enjoyment, the more the mind becomes dissatisfied. In the present age, we unnecessarily engage the mind in so many different ways for sense gratification, and so there is no possibility of the mind's becoming satisfied. The best course is to divert the mind to the Vedic literature, which is full of satisfying stories, as in the Puranas and the Mahabharata. One can take advantage of this knowledge and thus become purified. The mind should be devoid of duplicity, and one should think of the welfare of all. Silence means that one is always thinking of self-realization. The person in Krishna consciousness observes perfect silence in this sense. Control of the mind means detaching the mind from sense enjoyment. One should be straightforward in his dealings and thereby purify his existence. All these qualities together constitute austerity in mental activities.
Yes. So, as far as austerity of the mind is concerned, mana prasada, prasada, satisfaction of the mind. So the tendency of the mind is never satisfied. I want this, I want that, this, that, more, more, more. That's the nature of the mind. Never satisfied. As Prabhupada said, there's enough in this world for every man's need, but not for one man's greed. So when the mind is greedy, then yes, never satisfied. So then the austerity is, okay, be satisfied with what you have, especially for a Brahmana. It said one of the most important qualities of a Brahman is to be satisfied. We had a discussion in one of the previous classes on this point. So therefore, as Prabhupada writes, to make the mind austere is to detach it from sense gratification. So rather than, the next sentence is again important. It should be so trained that you can be always thinking of doing good for others. So the tendency of the mind is to be selfish. What will I get? I. So that's the tendency of the mind. But then when one diverts that to the welfare of others, benefit of others, and be more selfless, then the focus on oneself will reduce. So that's the benefit of preaching. So when we are thinking about the welfare of others, how to do good to others, then the focus on oneself will reduce. Otherwise, the mind always tends to be focused on oneself, what will I get and all. So he says the best training for the mind. So the next thing he says is saumyatvam, without duplicity towards others. That is called simplicity. And I think so we discussed this before. Saralta, Vaishnava. The Vaishnava is supposed to be simple. Otherwise, one is duplicitous, one tends to cheat, and then one tells one lie, then to cover up for that another lie, and then 100 lies. Whole life becomes too complicated. And of course, Krishna is not pleased by that type of duplicitous behavior. So gravity in thoughts. So gravity means, as Prabhupada further says, one should not deviate from Krishna consciousness. So the mind, of course, gravity, the definition of gravity Prabhupada gives in other places is that a person who's gray, one cannot understand what he's thinking or what are his thoughts. So that means it just doesn't go on speaking, blabbering, whatever he's thinking. No. So that's the meaning of gray. So that means basically, it's not that the mind is just wandering around, flirting around to so many different subject matters, but then being fixed in Krishna consciousness. Then self-control. Okay, self-control, that means to control the mind, not engage in sense gratification, being satisfied. So all that comes under self-control. As Prabhupada writes, the more we think of sense enjoyment, more mind becomes dissatisfied, and material desires can never be satisfied. And Atma Vinigraha, so that means self-control. And Bhava Samshuddhi, that is purification of one's existence. So we purify ourselves by, as Prabhupada writes, diverting the mind to Vedic literature. So purifying the minds. Savai mana Krishna padaram in the yoga. So by fixing the mind on Krishna's lotus feet and engaging the mind in Krishna's service, thinking about Krishna, about his pastimes, about his service. And then Maunam, sorry, we missed that. Maunam. Maunam means silence. Of course, Maunam is, okay, both. Gravity also, Prabhupada, in the word towards is gravity. And in the purport, Prabhupada is speaking about silence. Of course, as Prabhupada says, see, the real silence is to speak only about Krishna. So yes, so these are the ways in which one must practice austerity of the minds. So now, so these are three types of austerities: mind, body, speech. And then he talks about austerity in three modes, which again, as we said, the qualities are quite similar. Shraddhaya paraya taptam tapastat trividam narai afala kankshibir yukte satvikam parichakshate. This threefold austerity means body, mind, speech. Perform with transcendental faith, Shraddhaya, by men not expecting material benefits. You see the same quality again. Afala kankshibir, not expecting material benefits, but engaged only for the sake of the Supreme, is called austerity in goodness. So again, the same point. So basically done out of duty, without a desire for results, and with faith in the scripture. So that is in the mode of goodness. Then austerity in the mode of passion. Satkara mana pujartam tapodhambena chevayat kriyate tat iha proktam rajasam chalamadhruvam. Penance performed out of pride and for the sake of gaining respect, honor, worship is said to be in the mode of passion. It's neither stable nor permanent. Okay, so they perform austerities, but then just to make a big show, satkara, to get respect, mana, honor, puja, worship. So these are the purposes for which somebody does austerity in the mode of passion, so that everyone knows, okay, I've chanted 64 rounds on Ekadashi. So one who is in the mode of passion, then he makes a big advertisement out of it. I chanted 64 rounds, I had fasted, I did this, I did that. So then a big bombastic announcements, because one is interested in satkara, mana, puja, and it is done out of dambena, with pride. Okay, read the purport.
Indu Mataji.
Hare Krishna. Sometimes penance and austerity are executed to attract people and receive honor, respect, and worship from others. Persons in the mode of passion arrange to be worshipped by subordinates and let them wash their feet and offer riches. Such arrangements artificially made by the performance of penances are considered to be in the mode of passion. The results are temporary. They can be continued for some time, but they are not permanent.
Okay, so chalam adhruvam. Chalam means flickering. They only for some time. Adhruvam, temporary. So we discussed this point previously. Why they're temporary? Because okay, as long as they get the respect, it'll be done. The moment they don't get the respect or the results what they're looking for, it's finished. So that's why something in the mode of passion cannot be stable. For stability, goodness is required. In passion, okay, as long as I get the results, I'll do the work. No results, forget it. So there cannot be stability. And austerity in the mode of ignorance. Moda grahinatmano yat pidaya kriyate tapaha parasyot sadhanartham va tattamasam mudharitam. Penance performed out of foolishness, with self-torture, or to destroy or injure others, is said to be in the mode of ignorance. Okay, so Prabhupada gives the example of Hiranyakashipu, such severe austerities. It's mentioned in the Bhagavatam. Practically no person in the material world could do such austerities as Hiranyakashipu could do. So, but why? All for, so it's out of foolishness, or basically, of course, Rajagun and Tamagun are always mixed. So it's for pride and getting powers, so much of self-torture. But then, as it said over here, the purpose is what? Destroy or injure others. That is the purpose. So this is all in the mode of ignorance. Okay. So now coming to charity in the three modes. 20. Datavyam iti yad danam diyate anupakarine deshe kale cha patre cha tadhanam satvikam smritam. Charity given out of duty, without expectation of return, at the proper time and place, and to a worthy person is considered to be in the mode of goodness. So again, you find similar points. So out of duty, without expectation of return, anupakarine, irrespective of return. And then desha, kala, patra, so the proper place, time, proper person. So all that is in the mode of goodness. Okay, read the purport.
Deepak Prabhuji or the Panyabhi.
In the Vedic literature, charity given to a person engaged in spiritual activities is recommended. There is no recommendation for giving charity indiscriminately. Spiritual perfection is always a consideration. Therefore, charity is recommended to be given at a place of pilgrimage and at a lunar or solar eclipse, or at the end of the month, or to a qualified Brahmana, a Vaishnava, or in temples. Such charities should be given without any consideration of return. Charity to the poor is sometimes given out of compassion. But if a poor man is not worth giving charity to, then there is no spiritual advancement. In other words, indiscriminate charity is not recommended in the Vedic literature.
Okay, so I think so that's quite clear. Then 21, charity in the mode of passion. Yattu pratyupakarartham phalam uddishya va punaha diyate cha pariklishtam tadhanam rajasam smritam. But charity performed with the expectation of some return, desire for fruitive results, grudging mood is in the mode of passion. So again, you find similar features. Passion means what am I going to get? Okay, I give 100 rupees today in charity. I want 1 crore in return. That's the reason many people give charity, because they know, according to scriptures, they do this much punya, they'll get things in return. That's the general reason why people give charity, if at all they give. So that's all in the mode of passion. And then some, even after they give, they repent, as Prabhupada says in purport. Why have I spent so much in this way? Grudging moods. So these are all in the mode of passion. Or again, expectation of some return. They want the name and the fame. They want the name to be put up somewhere, that this person has given so much charity, and so on and so forth. So Prabhupada writes in this purport, there are many charitable foundations which offer their gifts to institutions where sense gratification goes on. Such charities are not recommended. So if one gives to people who are engaged in sense gratification, then one also gets the results of their sense gratification or their sinful activities. 22. Adeshakale yad danam apatrebhyascha diyate asatkritam avagyatam tattamasam mudharitam. Charity performed impure place, improper time, unworthy persons, without proper attention and respect is said to be in the mode of ignorance. Okay? So no consideration of a place, time, person. Okay, just give charity to someone. Now, if one gives charity to a beggar, and the beggar uses it for his, of course, one can offer prasadam. If one sees beggars, best is to offer prasadam, then they get the benefit. But then, if one offers charity to anyone, and then the person uses it for sinful activities, then one can get the reaction for that. And so therefore, one should take into consideration the place, time, worthy person, and all these factors have to be taken into consideration while giving charity. So as Prabhupada writes in the purport, contributions for indulgence, intoxication, gambling are not encouraged. That sort of contribution is in the mode of ignorance. Such charity is not beneficial, rather sinful persons are encouraged. Similarly, if a person gives charity to a suitable person, but without respect, without attention, that sort of charity is also said to be in the mode of darkness. Okay, so that sacrifices, austerity, and charity in the modes. Let's see some proper quotes. Okay, Prabhupada's lecture, please read.
Krishna Mohan.
It's a social convention that if you want to speak truth, you speak truth very flattering. Don't speak unpalatable truth. But we are not meant for that purpose. Social convention. We are preacher, we are servant of God. We must speak the real truth. You may like it or may not like it, that a godless civilization cannot be happy in any stage. That is a fact. Letter to
Okay, so
college.
we already discussed on this point about speaking palatably, speaking the truth. Okay, now this is charity. Okay, this is again Prabhupada's lecture. Read.
There are three kinds of charity.
Somebody else.
Abhay Anand Prabhuji. Abhay Anand Prabhuji. Okay. Shyam Chaitanya Prabhuji.
Charity in the modes. There are three kinds of charity: sattvic, rajasic, tamasic. Sattvic charity in goodness is the due consideration, with due consideration. That is the worthy place to give charity in the hands of Brahmanas and Vaishnava, because they will employ whatever you give them in the service of the Lord.
And Rajasic, continue.
And Rajasic means for the sake of name. Oh, people will say, I am so charitable. That is Rajasic. And Tamasic, one who does not know where the money is going, just like in the Bowery Street, that drunkard comes and polishes the motor car, and somebody gives $5 and immediately goes to drink. That means this charity means give him impetus for drinking. So if charity creates such drunkard, oh, that's very dangerous. He has to suffer, the man who is giving charity.
Yes. So that's charity in the 3 modes. Okay, coming to the last section of the chapter from 23 to 28, chanting Om Tat Sat purifies activities. Now, without getting into too many technical details of this section, what is the essence of this section is this. Now, as far as we are concerned, and as we have discussed in our previous discussion also, as far as we are concerned, we are not simply interested in sattvic activities. Our purpose is not simply to remain in sattvaguna. Our ultimate purpose is to transcend even sattvaguna and come to the transcendental platform. That's our ultimate goal. And so therefore, of course, we do understand the fact that sattvic activities are most conducive to come to the transcendental platform. But ultimately, we are interested in pleasing Krishna and coming to the transcendental platform. So just to give an example, so just like Arjuna, Prabhupada in quite a few lectures, he says that before he heard the Bhagavad Gita, he was non-violent. And people in general may think, oh, he was such a good man. He was such a good man. He wanted to be non-violent. And this Krishna spoke Bhagavad Gita and he became violent. What is this? So yes, so ahimsa is a sattvic quality. Here also we read it's an austerity of the body, ahimsa, non-violence. But then here we find that Krishna is inducing Arjuna to fight. So apparently it appears that he is inducing him to do something rajasic. So therefore, we are not simply interested in what is sattvic and rajasic. Our ultimate purpose is to please Krishna, to come to the transcendental platform. And so similarly, we know the famous example of Yudhishthira Maharaj. He wanted to be truthful, but Krishna was telling him to tell a lie. So therefore, our ultimate goal is not simply to be sattvic. Our ultimate goal is to please Krishna, to come to the transcendental platform. And as long as sattvic activities are helping us to please Krishna, then it's fine. So that's the basic, the essence of this section. So chanting Om Tat Sat means basically to bring the activity to the transcendental platform. So there are some technical details in this section. We would not like to go into too many technical details, but that is the essential mode or the essential purpose of this section. But in any case, we will read the translations and some important points. Okay, 23. Om Tat Saditi Nirdesho Brahmanastrividha Smritaha Brahmanastina Vedascha Yajnascha Vihita Pura. From the beginning of creation, the three words Om Tat Sat were used to indicate the supreme absolute truth. These three symbolic representations were used by Brahmanas while chanting the hymns of the Vedas and during sacrifices for the satisfaction of the Supreme. Okay, so the purpose of these chanting Om Tat Sat is basically what? Satisfaction of the Supreme. Okay, read this purport. It's a good purport. It summarizes many things.
Vijay Narasimha.
Hare Krishna. It has been explained that penance, sacrifice, charity, and foods are divided into three categories: the modes of goodness, passion, and ignorance. But whether first class, second class, or third class, they're all conditioned, contaminated by the material modes of nature. When they are aimed at the Supreme, Om Tat Sat, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the eternal, they become means for spiritual elevation. In the spiritual injunctions, such an objective is indicated. These three words, Om Tat Sat, particularly indicate the absolute truth, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In the Vedic hymns, the word Om is always found. One who acts without following the regulations of the scriptures will not attain the absolute truth. He will get some temporary result, but not the ultimate end of life. The conclusion is that the performance of charity, sacrifice, and penance must be done in the mode of goodness. Performed in the mode of passion or ignorance, they are certainly inferior in quality. The three words Om Tat Sat are uttered in conjunction with the holy name of the Supreme Lord. Example, Om Tat Vishnu. Whenever a Vedic hymn or the holy name of the Supreme Lord is uttered, Om is added. This is the indication of Vedic literature. These three words are taken from Vedic hymns. Om iti etat brahmano nedishtam nama indicates the first goal. Om tat tvam asi, Chandogya Upanishad 6.8.7 indicates the second goal. And Sadeva Saumya, Chandogya Upanishad 6.2.1 indicates the third goal. Combined, they become Om Tat Sat. Formerly, when Brahma, the first created living entity, performed sacrifices indicated by these three words, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, the same principle has always been followed by disciplic succession. So, this hymn has great significance. Bhagavad Gita recommends, therefore, that any work done should be done for Om Tat Sat or for the Supreme Personality of Godhead. When one performs penance, charity, and sacrifice with these three words, he is acting in Krishna consciousness. Krishna consciousness is the scientific execution of transcendental activities which enables one to return home back to Godhead. There is no loss of energy in acting in such a transcendental way.
Okay, so I think so. The essence is very clear. Prabhupada makes it very clear, and in the beginning of the purport as well as the end of the purport, Prabhupada makes the point very clear. So whether first class, second class, third class, they're all conditioned. When they're aimed at the Supreme, Om Tat Sat, then they become means for spiritual elevation. So that is the meaning. And towards the end, again, he says, when one performs penance, charity, and sacrifice with these three words, he's acting in Krishna consciousness. So that is the basic purpose. So ultimately, the ultimate purpose is to please Krishna, to please the Supreme. And as far as, now, again, as some devotees explained, the reason why Krishna is putting some of these things, as if you remember, we had the discussion on Brahma Bhuyaya Kalpate at the end of the 14th chapter. And here also, the reason why Krishna is putting these things, because this is the Jnana section. And so Krishna is also trying to attract the Jnanis, impersonalists. So the impersonalists are very much attracted to Om. So Om is, as we read in previous purports, Prabhupada has explained that Om is the impersonal representation of the Supreme. So, but as far as we are concerned, we chant Hare Krishna. And so, as Prabhupada wrote in other purports, Hare Krishna includes Om. And so for us, there's no need for us to chant Om. That is for the impersonalists. But then the ultimate purpose is, yes, the Om also addresses the Supreme, but that's an impersonal way of addressing the Supreme. As far as we are concerned, we are addressing Krishna directly as Krishna and Rama. And so therefore, as far as we are concerned, we chant Hare Krishna. There's no need for us to chant Om Tat Sat. That is not required for us because that's for the impersonalists. That's an impersonal representation of the impersonal representation of the Supreme Lord. So, but anyways, the ultimate purpose is the same. The purpose is to please the Supreme. 24. I'm just reading the translation. Therefore, translators undertaking performance of sacrifice, charity, and penance in accordance with scriptural regulations begin always with Om to attain the Supreme. 25. Without desiring fruitive results. So obviously, the mode of goodness is conducive to come to transcendence. So at least it must be in the mode of goodness. That means follow the scriptures, not have expectations of results, and all that should obviously be there. So therefore, 25 is, without desiring fruitive results, one should perform various kinds of sacrifices, penance, and charity with the word Tat. The purpose of such transcendental activities is to get free from material entanglements. 26-27, the absolute truth is the objective of devotional sacrifice and is indicated by the word Sat. The performer of such sacrifice is also called Sat, as are all works of sacrifice, penance, and charity, which true to the absolute nature are performed to please the Supreme Person or Son of Krita. Okay, so here Prabhupada is writing here the words Sadbhavi and Sadhubhavi in this verse. You can see the 26th verse. Indicate the transcendental situation. Acting in Krishna consciousness is called Sattva. And when one is fully conscious of the activities of Krishna consciousness, he is called a Sadhu. Transcendental subject matter becomes clear in the association of devotees. Satam Prasangats. Without good association, one cannot achieve transcendental knowledge. Okay, fine. And the 28th verse, anything done as a sacrifice, charity, or penance without faith in the Supreme or Son of Prita is impermanent. It is called asat and is useless both in this life and the next. Okay, read this purport, please.
Anything done without the transcendental objective, whether it be sacrifice, charity, or penance, is useless. Therefore, in this verse, it is declared that such activities are abominable. Everything should be done for the Supreme in Krishna consciousness. Without such faith and without the proper guidance, there can never be any fruit in all the Vedic scriptures. Faith in the Supreme is advised. In the pursuit of all Vedic instructions, the ultimate goal is the understanding of Krishna. No one can obtain success without following this principle. Therefore, the best course is to work from the very beginning in Krishna consciousness under the guidance of a bona fide spiritual master. That is the way to make everything successful. In the conditional state, people are attracted to worshipping demigods, ghosts, or yakshas like Kuvera. The mode of goodness is better than the mode of passion and ignorance, but one who takes directly to Krishna consciousness is transcendental to all three modes of material nature. Although there is process of gradual elevation, if one by the association of pure devotees takes directly to Krishna consciousness, that is the best way, and that is recommended in this chapter. To achieve success in this way, one must first find the proper spiritual master and receive training under his direction. Then one can achieve faith in the Supreme. When that faith matures in course of time, it is called love of God. This love is the ultimate goal of living entities. One should therefore take to Krishna consciousness directly. That is the message of this 17th chapter. Thus, and the Bhaktivedanta purport to the 17th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavad Gita in the matter of the divisions of faith.
Okay, so that's the point. So the point is, yes, one has to ultimately come to the point of Krishna consciousness. Um, okay. Okay, fine. Okay, Josh, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Okay, fine. So there's some questions.
Yes, Prabhuji. So 2 questions from yesterday and around 8 or 9 questions from today.
Okay.
The yesterday's questions I posted them on the chat. Prabhuji. They are there in the starting.
Okay. One whose faith is influenced in 3 gunas, is he demoniac in nature or potential of having divine qualities? Yes. So, as we discussed, Rajagun, Tamagun, that's demoniac nature. More one in Sattvagun, more is divine. But then all the scriptures are there so that one can change the demoniac nature to divine nature. That's the purpose of all the scriptures. So one can change. That is why all this is being discussed. If one cannot change, then what's the purpose of discussing all this? So one can change, as we discussed so many times, with faith and determination, practice. Prabhupada has mentioned so many times. One can change. So that's what one should do. Okay. As per chapter 3, even though different people worship different gods, it will lead to devotion to Krishna gradually. Okay. People who worship ghosts and spirits also. Yeah, so if they're worshiping ghosts and spirits, so elevation takes place when they follow the Vedas. So if they're worshiping demigods according to the scriptures, then there is gradual elevation, not some concocted worship. So therefore, basically, therefore the sattvagun is what helps one in elevation. So sattvagun means one is worshiping the devatas according to scriptures. Then there is elevation, not some concocted worship, worshiping ghosts and spirits. Then there's no question of elevation. Yes, Prabhupada told about Mahatma Gandhi so many times. So he's some so-called follower of the Gita. That concocted practices is not going to give any good results. Okay, prasadam that's beyond 3 hours is fine, right? Pickles, homemade. Okay, fine. If the pickles are homemade by devotees, it's fine. Turmeric, neem are medicinal as well. How is it mentioned there? Rajasic food. Well, with that point we clarified. Anything in excess, too much, that becomes Rajasic. Anything in moderation, that's fine. Especially if it's medicinal, then it's fine. Medicine, of course, it's always moderation. Are duty and love same? No, they're not the same. Love is much about. Duty means, okay, I have to do it. I have to do it. But love means there is love. So therefore, it rises above duty. So then, just like the gopis, they just loved Krishna. They were not, they didn't want to please Krishna because he was God. That's duty platform. Duty platform means, oh, Krishna is God, so therefore I better worship him. Otherwise, I'll get some bad effects. So therefore, okay. So that's duty. But love means, well, whether he's God or he's not God, I don't care. I just love him. That's it. So that's a very high platform, but that's love. Okay. Even if it is with the intention of spiritual advancement. No, obviously not. So passion. So we already have read it. What is the symptoms of those in mode of passion? They're doing it for name, fame, prestige, results. So spiritual advancement, is it something like that? No, spiritual advancement is on the transcendental platform. Okay, foods that are naturally bitter, like bitter gourd. Now again, the same thing. Anything in excess is bad. In moderation it's well. Again, same thing, neem leaves. Speaking truth or maintaining relationships, both are important. So therefore, one should know how to speak the truth in a way that relationships are maintained. So that is why Satyam Briyat, Priyam Briyat. So one has to speak the truth, but then one has to speak in the right way, to the right person, at the proper time. So all these factors should be taken into consideration. So one should use one's intelligence. Yes, Venimada Prabhu is okay with that?
Yes, Prabhuji. Yes, Prabhuji. Thank you, bro.
Hare Krishna. How do you find the right balance between satisfaction and performing to one's potential? Yes, so if one has done one's best according to one's potential, then yes, one should be satisfied. And of course, again, there's always a tendency for the mind to trick one. The influence of the lower modes, laziness will always present that, oh yes, you have done to your capacity. And so therefore, then one should take some guidance if one has doubts, whether I've actually performed according to my capacity. Then one can take guidance and check. But then basically, yes, if one has done one's best according to one's capacity, everyone's capacity is different. So somebody has more capacity, somebody has less capacity. So according to one's capacity, if one has performed, then one should be satisfied.
Thank you, Prabhu. Just one small clarification there, that finding one's capacity itself is a discovery. Our capacities also change over time, right?
Correct.
So how does
yes, so that's why I said that therefore some guidance may be required. So if one has doubts whether it's my capacity or it's the mind fooling me, so one can take some guidance. All right. Chanting the mode of goodness, like
thank you, Prabhu.
Very difficult to achieve with so many conditions, especially time and place, and also ascertaining the qualification of individual. No, so the simple thing is, as Prabhupada has explained that purport, so especially for us, what is the difficulty? Chanting should be given to Vaishnavas and temples. So that's the end of the story as far as we are concerned. Why should we be so much bogged down by other things? So when it comes to Vaishnavas temples, not so much consideration of time and all that. So that's for us, it's on the transcendental platform as if you're giving to the Supreme Lord and Vaishnavas. So we don't have to be concerned about them. Okay, why not chant Om Tat Sat? I already explained that. Okay, can. Okay, if somebody wants to chant, there's no problem. It's not something wrong or something. But the Prabhupada explains there's no need because we are chanting Hare Krishna. That's it?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay, good. We have some more time if somebody else has any other clarifications. or we end?
One more question has come, Poo.
What's that? Our main purpose is to satisfy the Supreme Lord and not Sattvic. So, other more people, if they other mode people, if they satisfy. Yes, that's fine. If they satisfy the Supreme Lord, it's good. Whichever mode one is in, whether one is in Rajogun, Tamogun, if they satisfy the Supreme Lord, it's good. From any platform, one can rise up to devotional service. Though, of course, we say that the Sattvic platform is most conducive, but there's no limitation like that for devotional service. Devotional service is very potent. So, we gave examples from Regari and all. So, from any platform, one can rise to the topmost platform by taking shelter of a Vaishnava and pleasing the Supreme Lord according to the dictations of a Vaishnava, then it's possible from any platform.
Okay. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Anything else?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, this closed book exam and open book exam are as normal or as the usual practice?
That you all can decide later. That's between Harishetra Prabhu and all of you. Okay, so okay, sweets from outside shop should not be offered and honored. What's there to elaborate? It's already understood. We already said it very clearly. Yes, prasadam means cooked by devotees, offered by devotees. That's prasadam. Parents are not conducive to Krishna consciousness. Does it mean that we're not respecting elders? No, we cannot force anyone. Every jiva has got his own free will. And what to speak of parents? So we can't force parents. So therefore, we can try our best. We can't force. We just try. That's all.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yes,
regarding the open book, you have already given the first question. I request devotees to write that question, and also for the this one sloka memorization, devotees who have memorized, they can start scheduling. They can flag and we can schedule and we can take the test. To Vamsivadan Prabhuji, like this closed book, I was thinking, maintaining social distancing and all, maybe 20 people we can do the exam in 2 batches. And that's what was my plan.
So that many people can come to the center.
Kind of, they can come and they can give. I don't know, people who are there, not there in town, I don't know how to take their test. So that's this one.
But then we can consider when they come.
Okay, Pooji. Fine, Pooji.
At least after some days they will come, no?
Yes, it looks like no, here one devotee astrologer is there in Bangalore. So he told like till September something of this sort will be there, like that.
Anyway, till September, even if the astrology doesn't say it, is quite obvious. What big prediction is that? Till September.
So I called him up saying that whether we'll be able to do Janmashtami or not. So I wanted some clarity on that. So I called.
Anyway, governments are allowing religious places to open by 8th, I suppose, no?
Yes, Prabhuji. But they will have to keep all the sanitizers and
large gatherings are not allowed.
Temperature checking and all those things we have to keep all those things. Prabhuji, some more questions have come up.
What is that? If prasadam is prepared by devotee, without right moods. Yes. So at least there must be some devotion. So we may not be totally purified devotees having love for the Supreme, but at least there must be some devotion. Oh, I'm preparing for the Lord. Let me prepare nicely. At least one should be careful not to put salt instead of sugar or sugar instead of salt. So at least that must be there, and then we are offering through Guru and the Guru Parampara. So then they take care of the finer details. When in the mode of passion or ignorance, how do we slow down? Coming to goodness doesn't mean slowing down. Coming to goodness means changing the motive. This is a misconception. So Prabhupada was doing so much. Where did he slow down? He was transcendently super busy for the Lord. So it doesn't mean passion means fast and something big, and goodness means something slow. No, not like that. The difference is basically in the motives. When the motives change, then the way of functioning also changes. What? Because even if knowledge of the modes is known, it is required. Yes, that is. So therefore, there has to be guidance, there has to be practice. And with that, you all can decide. Huh? I don't know. Sham Chaitanya.
Prabhuji, this one of the Maharajas, like we had a guest lecture, and then in that during this Chiradahi Utsav, and he was mentioning that traditionally in Orissa, Bengal, and all, the Brahmanas would not take anything that has been cooked by people other than Brahmanical, this one. So that is how this Chiradahi had come into this one. And Nityanand Prabhu, he ordered Raghunath Das Goswami to cook Chiradahi because all his associates were Brahmanas, and to maintain the social custom. So how much it is, because Chiradahi is not cooked. Cooked food means like it transfers karma and things like that. So how do we follow this thing in our ISKCON scenario, Prabhu?
So follow what? I'm not very clear.
Means Brahmanas should not take prasadam from non-Brahmanas. So that's
okay.
That should, as far as I have seen, we don't follow that kind of thing.
Okay, so you're meaning to say that in ISKCON sometimes non-Brahmanas also cook.
And also when we go, we also accept hospitality from other devotees. So this kind of system should be followed, not taking this one, or it's in the Vaishnava line, or it's just a Karma Kandya line. This one I was.
See, Prabhupada's, if you read Prabhupada's quotes, then Prabhupada's stand on all this was very clear. As far as cooked food is concerned, then it has to be from devotees. Devotees means Prabhupada usually would say at least first initiative. If you're accepting food from someone, he should be at least first initiative. Or sometimes, of course, these days initiations are late, this, that. At least serious devotee chanting 16 rounds, following rules and regulations. That has to be the minimum standard if you're accepting cooked food. Now exceptions to that, sometimes in ISKCON temples, okay, if it's Rath Yatra and things like that, then those are exceptional cases. But even that we understand is being prepared under the guidance of some devotees, and so it is offered and all that. So those are exceptional cases. Some big festivals, those are exceptional cases. But in general, as a regular practice, then that is the standard. And Srila Prabhupada followed that. So, and if Prabhupada made it very clear again, if for the sake of preaching or hospitality or whatever, if one is going to someone who is not on that standard, then accept only fruits and milk. That's it.
Prabhuji, when Prabhupada came to India, in Gujarat and other places, he used to be invited by many guests and all, and he would honor their food. Means they are not devotees of that sense. So how to understand that, Prabhuji?
See, two things. One thing is Prabhupada is Prabhupada. Okay, that is the first thing. So his position is slightly different, and so somebody who is very powerful, then he can nullify so many reactions, and all that is possible for him. That is one thing. Second thing is, as if you're talking especially of Gujarat and Rajasthan, many of these people were actually devotees of Lord Krishna. And so even though, okay, may not be some proper sampradaya, and in fact, many of them are in the Vallabhacharya line actually. Many of them belong to the Pushti Marg. And so these are bona fide Vaishnava sampradayas. So we know many of the Gujaratis in Rajasthan, they go to, what's that place? Nathdwara. Yes, Nathdwara, Dwaraka. So some sampradaya, Vaishnava sampradaya, they're following, and they're good devotees. So we can assume that Prabhupada may have taken these things into consideration. We can assume that. And even if not for whatever reason, then Prabhupada's platform is slightly different. We cannot exactly imitate. But then Prabhupada, for devotees in general, then Prabhupada has laid down the standards in its teachings. So that is what we should follow.
Okay, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, one devotee is asking, what is the OBA format that is expected?
What do you mean by OBA format? So how to write an OBA, that has already been explained. No?
Yes, Prabhuji.
So same thing.
Okay.
So to tell something on that. So just like in this case, the question is about the three modes. So first of all, one should explain what are the characteristics of the three modes. Okay, so the characteristics of the mode of passion with Shastric references from Prabhupada books, Prabhupada quotes, all that. So the characteristics of one and goodness, passion, ignorance. So that must be first explained. And then the personal application part as to how you're influenced by the modes and what would you like to do to come to goodness. So there must be the Shastric part and then the personal application part. So both aspects should be. Okay, Brahmanas, Odisha, Bengal, they're not Brahmanas. Forget it if they're eating goat, meat, fish. And about the pujaris in Puri, we don't want to comment anything. Okay, fine. Anything else?
So far, nothing else, please.
Okay, is charity in the form of Lakshmi the last of the various forms? Knowledge, time, energy. What is this? Huh? Saurabh.
Unmuting him, Prabhuji. Saurabh, you can ask the question.
Prabhuji, like when we want to offer some service, then simply sending away cash, Lakshmi, for supporting, is that the best? I mean, convenience. So, like, I just wanted to know.
So how much ever one can do according to one's capacity. If one's capacity is to offer only some money and one has no other alternative, then okay. But if one has an option, if one has the possibility to give money and also give some practical service, so how much ever possible one can do, no? So why restrict oneself if one has a capacity to do more? All right.
And Prabhuji, and helping the poor, like as you said, out of compassion, the Vaishnavas do help the poor. So that should be like constrained to like offering prasadam and not giving Lakshmi, because
Money,
then it may be
yes.
misused.
Yes, that's correct. So therefore, if we are traveling and if we know that definitely we'll meet some beggars, then it's always good to carry some prasad. That's best. But also some devotees say that for whatever reason, if one doesn't have prasadam and some beggar comes up, then just to avoid being hard-hearted, maybe one can offer some gift, some money, just to avoid being hard-hearted.
Yes, Prabhu.
So that sometimes devotees do say.
Thank you, Prabhu.
All right. Okay, fine. So I think so we'll stop for today, and our next class is on Monday, right?
Yes,
Oh, yes, Prabhu. Yes.
Okay, so so Monday we'll start the 18th chapter, and may take 3 or 4 classes. 18th chapter. All right.
Yes, Prabhu.
Okay, fine. Thank you very much for your kind attention. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai, Samved Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Prabhu.